Hello everybody, I think we're going. It has been a slightly crazy day, technology issues. The computer I log in has lost our connection that we've been using for years now. And so I'm hearing myself and I don't know what to do about that. And there's a way to turn it off. And I'm not sure what our call is. So, but yeah, we've been using the same settings since 2020. It's crazy. Hope everybody's doing okay. I can't see anything yet. My phone is not letting me on. Hey, thanks for the resubscription, Michael. You're supposed to be working. So am I. Hope you're doing well. We're a little cold here. It's warming up. We had a lot of rain this weekend, which is good. We absolutely need it. But goodness, I have no idea what's going on with all the tech. So many problems this morning. I guess we're live. We are. So go to that. Pause that, or I'll be hearing myself in triplicate. There we go. So there's that one. I have like a new little phone holder here that my mom gave me. That's going to be great for me to have the chat open over here because I have the YouTube chat going as well. Hey, Joe King. So let's see how this goes. I got to go to YouTube. But it's been crazy. So today, this is not something I was going to buy. I thought about it, but there's a new Foo Fighters pinball machine that just came out, and it looks really neat. And I was up as they offered the limited edition machine for sale. They have who knows, maybe 100 that they were selling in advance. And I saw the thing go live, and I'm like, okay, add it to my cart. And there's no way I'm going to buy that machine. I think it was $12,999. But I thought about it because it's beautiful. It's a really nice machine, I'm sure. I mean, we know nothing about gameplay but the videos. But it'd be fun to have that. I really do love the Foo Fighters. They're one of my favorite bands. But I just... and here's the real funny thing. There's no way I could have bought it. I don't think I have any credit cards that have that kind of limit. You know, the recommendation is don't have a high limit. And the one that I have access to easily is the one I use exclusively, and it's always got too much on it. There's no way. The limit is not even close, and then it's full with other charges. You know, I mean, I pay it off every month, but there's all kinds of stuff on there every time. So it's too bad, but I mean, I could still potentially get one. Because, you know, they make 3 versions of the machine. They make a Pro, a Premium, and a Limited Edition. Limited Edition has extra stuff, has a true mirrorized back glass that's looks really nice on this one. And, you know, in discussions, because Scott has gotten into pinball too, you basically decide you want to just get the Limited Edition. Since the other ones are so expensive anyway, I mean, the Pro is not that bad. I mean, it's a cost of a used car. But the Pro is not too bad. The Premium is $9,500 or something like that. I mean, it's crazy. Oh, starting soon. Hey, I'm talking, but you guys hear me. That's good. This is all the problems. There you go. Hey, well, at least you can see me now. Thanks, Michael. But yeah, it seems cool, and I'd love to get one, but we don't even have the room. That's the reality. But we shall see. But it's cool. Zombie Yeti did the art, which is one of my favorite illustrators, and it's cool. Everything about it is like, oh, this is neat. But yeah, if you get the Premium, it has like the side art, the new lighting thing that they're doing on their machines. The Led Zeppelin one had something like that, almost exactly, I think. and the back glass, the nice metal, all the armor is green, like a radioactive green kind of color. So it's all those things you would kind of want maybe, and it's part of the machine as a cost, but that's still $3,500 more? I don't know. And I'm not even sure what the cost of the machine is in the premium version. That's the $9,500, $9,600, whatever it is lately, 97, I don't know, is too crazy. I mean, you know, the pandemic really had pinball go crazy. Would be fun. So let me cut. I'm not really prepared today. I mean, I thought I was, but I couldn't get connected, and it's really weird. Hopefully everything's working. So let's cut to the table. I worked on, finished Kang the Conqueror, and let's see if you can see here. Turned out neat. I did some edge highlighting things on the crystals that he's standing on or whatever. Finished his face, painted everything, and it looks cool. It looks really cool. So the face turned out well. I did what I said, which is varnished it before painting on the black lines. Let me, excuse me again, hiccup. I will say though, when you do that, it is very easy to take the paint off. I probably could still take it off. So I absolutely need to varnish that, which I will do here today. Then but I airbrushed the base. I will talk a little bit about what's going on with the airbrush stuff. I figured out some things, which is great. So I wanted it to glow. It's not really glowing. I worked on War Machine, had it do the glow with the airbrush and the little compressor that I bought, which I really like. I figured out a lot about the whole airbrush, but this compressor is great, small, quiet, the charge lasts a long time. The only thing I would say is when it's on a hose, it's a little easier to like drag around. It's almost better to just connect it, but I don't know that I always want to have it connected. I did put on a quick connect. This is one of the, hold on, I'm gonna sneeze, I think. This is one of the Grecs, and so it's bigger, but you'll notice it has an adjustment. So you can increase and decrease the pressure. I felt that maybe the compressor, which has no adjustability, sort of might be a little too high in some cases, depending on what you're painting, well, you know, the type of paint you're using. But it does have the quick connect. It's as good as the other one. It's just more intense than the one that came with the Neo. Shoot, what's the name of that? I did organize all my brushes this weekend, and the desk a bit. It's better. I don't know what that is. The Neo. But I got all the airbrushes in the case, which was very exciting. I had to do some breakdown to get them to fit. Let's see here. Oh, here it is. So this one came with Quick Connect, the Neo Echo. And this is a good airbrush. It has this pressure adjustment as well. That's a nicer mechanism than on that one Badger I showed last week. The other one just has a plastic connector, but it's fine. But I did find out, first of all, like I had changed that the airbrush, the compressor that came with the airbrush that came with the compressor. Where is it here? Here we go. You know, there's no extra parts, and I was worried about that. And I did swap it with the nozzle that came with the Neo Echo. I did not buy them yet, but I saw on Amazon they have like 3-pack of each of the size nozzles, which is 0.2, 0.3, and 0.5 millimeter. And it $8, $8.50 or something like that. So it's needles, a bunch of components, needles, the cap. So this portion, wow, this is stuck. this portion here, so separate of this, and it had the nozzles themselves, which are, ooh, I just stabbed myself. Very lightly, thankfully. It has these nozzles, which are, I'm worried about. Like, it's very easy to take them off. The little O-rings seem to compress. I have beeswax, which I'm thinking about trying. Oh, you know what, I'm not on YouTube. I'm thinking about trying to see if I can use that instead of the O-rings, because I won't take it apart all the time, but I do feel you need to. So it's not that bad. If you do it like on a bowl or a plate, you could take that off and you probably wouldn't lose it. But I have lost things when I was doing airbrushes, you know, working on them before. And that's just, it's crazy, you know. You don't want to like have to replace expensive parts. Thankfully, these are not that expensive. So you can actually get into it and do some repairs. Lose it, but I have lost things. Hey, now I can hear myself all over the place. Hey, Dean and Ian and Dim. What are my most played games of all time? Well, one of my most played games is Wyatt Earp, one of my favorite games. Hey, Preston. Yeah, I'm way into pinball, but I own one machine. I am talking about the Foo Fighters. It is amazing looking, but it's just so expensive. Hey, you know, Matthias, we are probably going to do Marvel United. We want to do one of the newer things. I mean, obviously, I've been painting them, so we'll want to play them. Anyway, you can buy those parts, so this is not such a bad option. $55. It's still on sale. It was 54 something yesterday because I met with Nick Murphy and was talking about it, and he was thinking about getting it because the compressor's so quiet. He has a compressor at home and he lives in an apartment. It's kind of noisy, so he's just nervous about it. So he doesn't have he just doesn't run it when he's, you know, he's nervous about annoying his neighbors. So here's the quick connect that came, well, that's that piece. Here's the quick connect that came with this one. And it's cool. It works, I like it a lot. It's very fast, you know, pops out very easily. But last week I thought I stripped the connector on the Badgers, because this is the same adapter here, but this part, the Badgers have a 1/8 inch or something. Wow, this is not great on here. Oh, you know, it didn't come with this one. So this is the same thing that's happening on the other one. It threads, and other things work, but it won't. Oh, there it goes. Maybe there's just some burrs or something. I mean, these are probably not the greatest. But, so you can quickly connect. It works between the two different, hey, does it? Yeah, it does. So let's see here. Yep. So you can, I have it set to max. There is no adjustment on the airbrush itself, and there's no adjustment on the compressor, but you can restrict it with this. It does a pretty good job. This is supposed to be minimum. Still seems like a lot. But again, you need air to get the paint moving, so this is cool. And this pops out relatively easily. It seems to be tighter, so maybe they're not perfectly matched. The other one that I have like 7 of them for the Grex. I actually finally got through the kit. Like, I bought stuff years ago, and one of them was wrong. So there it is, it needs to be connected. But these seem to go a little smoother than this, but they're generally the same. I mean, you know, they're probably just some weird manufacturing tolerances. But, wait, my phone should be open to talk on the chat. Hi, nerd. Hey, I'm a nerd, there's no doubt. So, I got that going for me. Haha. Yeah, I love pinball. I've loved pinball for years. I used to play with my dad. We used to go, it was boys' night out. We'd go play pinball at Castle Park and video game stuff in the 80s. And I really love it. We go to Niagara once a year, and there's a Pocketeer. Has a bunch of pinball machines, and they have like 3 machines on free play on Tuesdays. So when we go there, we'll go to that. And that in 19, we went and played the Munsters. And I liked Munsters when I was a kid a lot. I mean, I still like the show. It's, you know, goofy, but fun. And so we played the Munsters, a premium, and we loved it. So I went out and bought one. And I will be at TPF, Preston. I am going, this is my first time. So Scott's going to go with he wants to go. That's the reason why we're going. So it should be fun. You should meet up. But I'm an okay player. I do okay on most machines, but I watch these guys like Jack Danger, and I'm just like, man, I need to play more. But I just don't have that kind of time. We do, fortunately, have a Korean barbecue place nearby called Kogi, AYCE Gogi. I never knew what AYCE meant. And finally, when I was looking at the menu or something one time, like, oh, it's all you can eat. And they have like 18 machines at the one near us, and they have 23, I think, at another one nearby. And they have a lot of great machines. And so they only charge 50 cents, and, you know, it's a restaurant. And we go there once every few months. I mean, it's very close to us here where we live in the valley. I would like to go more often. It's just, you know, you can't eat that food all the time. But we should just go and play pinball. I mean, we can do that too, but we just don't. But I did finally play years later the Aerosmith machine, and I was smitten. I'm like, dang it, I wish I could get that machine. It's nice having access. We played the Weird Al machine, which is a modular pinball machine. You could change it out, but I think that thing's $14,000 for that machine. It's neato. Pocketeer is in Buffalo, so it's not actually in Niagara Falls. And we go to Niagara Falls, New York. We do go to the other side sometime. We used to fly into Toronto, which I prefer, but it's not as easy for others. So Scott didn't like the travel time. It's still an hour or so, hour and a half to get to Niagara from Toronto. And, you know, we would go eat too, so it wasn't, I don't know. It's fine. But Buffalo, the Pocketeer's nice. I think they have 80 machines, which is crazy. Hey, you got into painting, the fan man. A few minions. Ooh, Mechs vs. Minions. Green Goblin. Oh man, I love that one. I think I showed you mine. It was, here he is. He's neat. But yeah, pinball's fun. Believe me, I would love to have 15, 20 machines. I play often enough on ours. I mean, we go through phases where I haven't played at all because I was just so busy. But I've been making more time. The last couple decades, wow. Absolutely, Preston. You should check in with us. You on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, let me know. Travel from Toronto to Buffalo is even longer. Yeah, I mean, I actually really love Canada. It was awesome. I've only ever been to Victoria, Ontario, you know, in that area, and Quebec City and Montreal. We actually, Nikki and I went on our honeymoon sort of through, it was supposed to start in Canada, but it started in Chicago. And we were always going to land in Chicago and go into Canada, but we went backwards because there was the Grand Prix. And we still ended up being in Montreal during the Grand Prix, which was, you know, the hotels are slammed and everything. But it was awesome. We had a really great time. Painting Feral, nice. Hey, Zach Stroud. Oh, nice. Paint set. Remember the East Coast, Cape Breton is quite safe. I would love to go. I mean, Rodney's asked us to go a long time back. It's pretty far. I mean, I'd love to see all of Canada. I've seen Victoria. I've never been to Vancouver. My family went. It was when I was in college, and I always was nervous of taking trips during the school year. My parents often did stuff because of my dad's work, and my brother went, and I think my grandmother went, and I didn't go. I wish I had. I finally got up to Seattle in 2018. I'd never been to Seattle either, which I love the Pacific Northwest. All that's gorgeous. And the East is probably amazing. I mean, it feels like it would, I don't know. I always have these assumptions of what it might look like in the area. And I feel like it's very European on the East Coast of of Canada. But what do I know? I've been all the way up through Maine and New Hampshire, Vermont, of course, Massachusetts. That's where my dad was from. And I don't know, but it's great. But Preston, that'd be awesome. I will definitely meet up with you. We'll be there all 3 days, I believe. That is the plan. So we're excited. I mean, that's weeks away. We are trying to get our act together to be away, because we went away sort of for Scott's birthday, but for work as well. And we got iced in and couldn't leave, and we were there an extra 4 days, and it messed up my schedule. I am so out of whack still. And I think we've been home a month. Oh no, almost, like 3 weeks. And maybe it was 3 weeks Friday. But yeah, it's crazy. So we're trying to prepare. We have a lot of travel. We have the TPF, and then we're going to go to the Gathering, which is Niagara, and I'll be going to Pocketeer. And then, what else do we got? Oh, the BGCon. BGCon at the May. And then, you know, it just all starts over again. We've got Gen Con. We've got the cruise. We're going to go to Seattle again. More pinball, for sure. We went to the Pinball Museum, and we've been to the Pinball Museum in Vegas, which is awesome. I mean, I love the old retro machines because I used to play those. That's what I played. But I do like the modern machines. I do like how intricate they can be with computers. I'm excited to try, what was the other one from Jersey Jack? I don't know, we played the Guns N' Roses a bunch, which is fun. I'm no huge fan of Guns N' Roses. I like them a lot, but I went and looked at my CDs even, and I don't even have that many of their records. I was kind of surprised, because I saw them live in the 80s when I was young. It's funny, I went to see this show at the, with a girlfriend at the LA Coliseum, and my mom was there the same night. My mom was not, she's not a rock and roll crazy person. I mean, my dad was a musician, so she was around all that, but she's more into soul. But that show had Rolling Stones, Guns N' Roses, and Living Colour. That was pretty fun. He lived in Vancouver for a month. Wow. I bet it's beautiful. It looks like, I mean, we watch a TV show called, hey David, by the way, we're watching that new show, Animal Control, and it supposedly takes place in Seattle, but it's obviously shot in Vancouver. It's hilarious too, because I think the lead is from Seattle, Joel McHale. Anyway, it's an okay show. So, I did get those two done. I started on Nick Fury Jr. His skin is, I don't know what the deal is. I've been trying to do the more, keep applying the paints. And by the way, I'll give you some tips on starting. Definitely one of the things, even if you're not doing contrast paints, which are pretty transparent, is to do the zenithal highlighting. Because, and that's a high level kind of stuff, it gives you indication of the shading. So you can see, I painted this miniature completely black, then I went in on the gray at a 45 degree angle. I'm hearing myself and it's driving me crazy. At a 45-degree angle, at an angle all the way around. Then you do the white from above. And then I do a little bit more punch in for the face with a little bit more white. So his fist is whiter than I would have preferred it to be. Now, this is going to be black. I'm sorry, that's probably not on camera. It's going to be black, so it's not that big of a deal. But generally, I just want the face to have a little bit of a pop. Hella is probably a little bit better. But you can see the shading. So if you're going to use standard paints, you can use this as an indication of your shading when you're using standard acrylics. If you're just starting, I suggest also maybe just buying a few contrast paints to focus on whatever, if you're doing multiple units of the same thing, and you know where they'll have similar paint jobs, then get the colors you need to do that and try it. But so what one of the things I did last week is I showed that new compressor that's $55 with the airbrush. That's a good way to do this. It's very expensive to buy paint cans now. I think you can maybe get something for around $8 or $9. But like if you buy any of the Citadel or Army Painter, it's going to be $15 to $20. An airbrush with this compressor is $55. And then I've been buying, I actually have it all in here. I showed these last week. This is Stynylrez. It's the primer I like, but Vallejo and Pro Acro Monument make great primers. I have not tried the Pro Acro ones, which I do want to try. They're newish, but none of the stores near me have them, and I just need to order it. Anyway, but this is a 16-ounce bottle. You can get the 4-ounce bottle and have plenty. I'll show you a 4-ounce bottle here. I think this would last a long time. I barely used a fifth, maybe, of the black of a 16-ounce bottle. Maybe. Is that right? Maybe 10%. But still, I don't know, fifth is 20. I would think it's maybe about 20. I mean, I barely used any white. I've used 3 ounces, 2 ounces. So you could get one of these. They're not too expensive. This is a brown, but you can get lots of them. And then you can also brush them. I brushed the black. I did the Jurassic World. It's in the feed, I think, now in our live. So all these are, most of my videos are that we've done on the paint night with Scott and myself and stuff I did on my own. And I dry brushed that one. So I painted it completely black, then used this brush with the tiniest amount of paint. You can see a little bit in the bristles. Let's see if it'll focus. But you clean it out. You do your best to clean it out. And it has, you put on a good little bit on the end, and then you brush it out. And then when it's literally feels like it's dry, you dry brush and you pull down to bring the highlights. And I have another smaller one, which is a little bit out of reach, that I do to get in a little bit deeper. Now, I was in a rush because I did it on a stream. I was trying to do everything in 2 hours or so. And it looked great. It was a different look than this. This is much smoother. But I think, you know, you can go any route. You can do it with spray cans. You get a black and a white. You don't need to buy gray. And just do entirely black, and then maybe go in with the black. You still should buy a primer, a brush or airbrush or brush on, and then fill it in to make sure you get it all, and then do the white. Scott does that when he's done his, and they look good. I painted his Nebula in April last year because he was. We were house sitting for a few days, and it was. Looked great, looked really great, but it's a little more spotty. This has the atomization of the paint is a little finer with this, and then you know it's a smoother transition. The dry brush version looks more like sketch. You know, I love it. I did the Jurassic Park 3. I don't remember the name of the dinosaur, but I was going to say dragon. And it had a perfect look because it had a big splash of water. It's one where they're trapped in a cage or something. I don't remember that movie that well. And it just looked fantastic for it. And Adam Smasher, Tabletop Minions, did a stream for us. He did several streams in 2020 when we were doing all our virtual streams, and he did 2 of the same figure, and I believe they were from Hellboy, so they were some sort of like units, common units. And one he airbrushed and one he dry brushed. Hey, Gear. And the 2 looked great. One I think was, maybe it was airbrush, maybe it was spray can, I can't remember. But definitely the other was brushed. And it had a cool look where, to me, it looked like it was a fabric jacket. And then the other one that was sprayed in some manner looked like leather. They both look fantastic. But if you were to get this airbrush and this compressor for $55, you know, you get a 10 bottle of primer. It's going to last you a long time. Hey, thanks for the follow, Tancred H. Tancred. I can never figure that out. I try. I always look at the license plates here in California and try to figure out what they're trying to say. It's pretty funny. But thanks for the follow. So yeah, you get that compressor and this airbrush for $55 plus a 10 bottle of paint. It'll go a long time. You can do more things, not just prime, because there's no way you're going to do like what I tried to do here, which is to have sort of a glow around the thrusters stuff. And this is fine. The best way to do this is probably start with black. You know, maybe do it again after you've done the main part, and then use silly putty is one thing you could do to mask it. Then paint some white over the black, you know, over the black. Then do the color. It'll look more like a light source. This is not quite, you know, as cool as it could be. I still have not seen the Vallejo it's Express paints. Yeah, I haven't seen them yet. I saw videos, and I still haven't used the Army Painter ones either. The store nearest that carries that stuff do not carry any of the Vallejo, the Army Painters. They carry Army Painter paints, but they don't carry the speed paints. Yeah, I'd like to try some of the other ones. Hey David, thanks for the resubscription. It's nice of you to support us. You're supposed to be working too. Thank you for watching. So yeah, I think it's an inexpensive way, and you have more flexibility and use for the airbrush. You can, as you grow as a painter, you can do some great stuff. Nick showed me a photo of his Captain Marvel, and he painted the whole thing red, and then, you know, painted the other stuff on top. But he did the mohawk that she has, which I did mine too, but it's not, I did mine differently. Because, you know, I was literally just doing it with brush. Because I'm trying to get people to get started, just use paintbrushes and use contrast paints. Because, I mean, look, this is cool. Turned out fun. I did do the zenithal highlighting, but then I painted everything with brush. And it looks really cool. So anyway, he went in and then highlighted with this airbrush the mohawk, the white on the, so the glow would go on her helmet, because, you know, it's like flames. And he was using, he says he has an Iwata Neo that's only about $60 or $70, which is pretty good. If you're, that's a pro or much better airbrush. But these are still great, and the fact that you can buy some of the spare parts, and you know, this, I believe this would come from one airbrush and go to the other. Let's see what the other one does. I think I put it away. But I really like the airbrushes, and I think getting to use them and, you know, get better at your, well, let's see if that'll fit. They sure look similar. But yeah, you could potentially go between airbrushes and use the parts. I have done that before. I actually wanted to buy, yeah, so that'll work. But if you care for it and you're not too abusive, I mean, it's, you know, it's easy to drop them and stuff, but they can last forever. I have my original airbrush still. It's a Badger, and yeah, Wookie Mart. Speed paints are amazing. They're all, I love the whole idea. It's so quick. You can do a lot of great stuff. I mean, it also improves your skills as a painter in general. You're just painting more and you're increasing your skills. Let's see here. I think this is the original one. Nope. Where is it? I redid everything and I'm not seeing it. I think that's in the second drawer. Yeah, so here's my original airbrush. This one I've had forever. Got it in the 80s. I did change the trigger to one of the newer long throw ones. But it's like this piece is harder to take off. I had to use a wrench, and you can see this is when I was a kid. I've messed up the knurl. But I've replaced the nozzle probably twice, the whole assembly. At the time, I think it was $8 or $10 to buy one. You can buy all the components separately from this one for these, and I still believe they sell them. And the great thing about this type of airbrush, and I think many of the pro ones, is you can take apart the nozzle. So I'm pulling off this main part here. I think it's just the integrator, you know, essentially, but for the air and the paint. So the air comes around on the outside, and then the paint comes here through the nozzle, and the needle restricts the flow. But the great thing is this comes off. And so then I can pull the needle through the front. The way they design them is, you can see this one's used a lot. It's been polished like where it should be a little bit frosted. Anyway, you can pull the needle out the back, and there's a bearing that's made out, it's PFTE, I think, which is Teflon, and it restricts the paint. Like, it'll restrict how much comes through the body. I don't want any paint through the body, so I pull my needle through the front. Some of the newer ones have a ball on the end of the needle, which means you can't pull it that way. So you have to do a great job cleaning it, and then you just count on that PFTE needle bearing. I have several airbrushes that have the ball on the end. I could change the needle probably, but it's a trick, you know, to like do adjustments. So this one has a ball on the end. I'm not that good of an airbrush painter, so I don't even really know the uses that you would need for that. But the fact that you can take it apart, this has the same type, PFTE, I think is the correct acronym. So it's Teflon. It's a Teflon bearing, and these use like rubber. And I don't know the lifespan of the rubber, and I don't know how easy it is to get spare parts of that. But if you take care of it, it should be fine. There was one in here, right there. There's one at the nozzle, and I said I exchanged this nozzle for the other one, and it compressed the O-ring. I don't know how good or bad that is yet. As I said, I will use beeswax. I have like a couple cakes of beeswax that I've used for years to do specifically that, is to help seal, keep the air from escaping, you know. But yeah, it's a good deal, can easily get you in, and you're not spending too much. The compressor's pretty decent, and if you're just priming, it's really decent. But that's an instance where you might want lower pressure, where you're trying to do a light paint job on something. Also, if you're using thinner paints. But yeah, they've got, you know, all the parts available for these. And if you notice, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a needle poking out the end. So, I mean, the needle is, you know, you can get poked, you can bend it. I have literally dropped it cleaning it. This is like one of my earliest experiences. So it was like this. And I dropped it, and it landed. I still have that needle too. It crunched the needle and bent it, so it was dead. You know, I had to buy a new assembly essentially. I needed to really just buy this part, which I don't even know how you'd install that. That one you do install with beeswax. I had one that was broken down and I used it for that. But I've used beeswax on other ones that are not as hard to install. The ones that I was saying, like on here, have a wrench. This has no wrench to thread that in, so I don't know how you would assemble that. That's why I've only ever bought full assemblies for this airbrush. I did have one other one that I assembled, and I don't know how I did that. It's been a long time. Anyway, so there's a lot to it. If you guys ever have any questions, let me know. I feel it's worth it, and I know that you will get better usage. You know, obviously a spray can, there's lots of waste. You're throwing out all those cans. And you know, you can get to be a better painter all the way around. You have more flexibility. You can do the things like I was talking about where you can do highlights and stuff like that. It'd be really amazing. Hey, thanks for the follow, J.K. Vana. You can do more like OSL type. That's the what is it called? Boy, I've said that for ages. Object source lighting. You can do more effects like that, and airbrushes make that easy or easier. Anyway, so let's get back to these. So I need to varnish this one and this one. And I did finish Quicksilver. He's done. He turned out really cool. So he's varnished and everything. I actually I realized I hadn't varnished. Oh, it still looks the same, so maybe I had varnished it. I'm sure it comes down to your brush strokes, but I've finished Gamora. Good, couldn't remember her name. Anyway, so let's move Quicksilver over there. He's done. I'm getting there. I'm gonna have, I read something that said they had 80 some miniatures in the first. Link to the brand. So the one that I'm showing, this one here, I don't have, I wished I had a link because we could get a BGG could get a credit. It is the UFU. It's pretty funny. YF UFU. It's 55 bucks on Amazon. At least it was yesterday. It's normally like 67. But it's this compressor, the hose, and the airbrush, and a few things for this. It does not have the quick connect. Quick connect's only really important if you're starting to do multiple airbrushes. And I occasionally do it, so I have them. But I was saying last week I had a problem with the one that goes on the Badgers. Let me see if I can, I could have showed it on the one. I thought I stripped it, but it turns out it's never been good. It only threads in a certain amount. And this is from Grex, and I'm confused because I tried it on my oldest airbrush to the newest, thinking that maybe there was a change in the threading, and there wasn't. Boy, that is weird how tough that is to get on there. Anyway, but yeah, it's, you know, it's a good way to get in, but yeah, I mean, that was pretty tight. But yeah, it's not good. I was kind of surprised. So I'm going to order some of these specifically from Badger. They have their own quick connect system that still uses the same stuff as far as size. But here's the one. I mean, I wonder how many times this will even thread on. So one of the things you can do is you go backwards, and then when you hear it pop, you can go and you can thread it. This is as good as it gets. Now, that's not bad. It works. I checked it, there's no leaking, but there's a rubber O-ring in there that I don't even think it gets to, which is strange, and I don't want to strip it. Now, there's paint in here, but I was looking at brand new airbrush. I have one airbrush I've never sprayed with, and it wouldn't thread. So it has nothing to do with that. Oh, the other thing about this compressor that's cool is it has a percentage. Hey, it's on. You can't really see it, but it tells you how full the charge is. It's pretty great, and it does a great job. Affiliate link. Yeah, I should actually put it together. We could do it. Several people have bought them already, which is great. Wow, why does that go down? So, you know, if you get into it, let me know. I can help you out with any problems you might have. But also, don't sweat it if you buy a Badger and you get the Grex thing. It does work. It doesn't seem to be stripping it or anything like that. I don't know. I can't really tell how far down. It seems pretty far down, that O-ring. But I used the hose, so they have a different hose. Actually, I wonder, I should just get the Grex, the Badger one, because it will have the proper connector. I was trying to, I have a bunch of adapters, and I was trying to get one that would do the Badger stuff. Where is it here? I feel like it's up front. It's not. Oh yeah, it is. So here's a Badger hose. And they've used this connection forever. I thought that there was like a survey where they asked if people would prefer the standard type connection. So here's the nut. And let's see how far it goes on. It seems like it's the same kind of depth. Man, seems like it's deeper on this Grex connector. But this will go all the way, threaded all the way on. Well, maybe I'm wrong. Let's see, one more try. I mean, it is tiny, but that's a lot of turns. I don't feel you get that many turns on this, and I would not over tighten it, because boy, it's hard to get stuff off. This one is not cleaned that well. Last time I used it, I don't think I did a good job. I do have an ultrasonic cleaner. I should put some of the cleaner in. Yeah, see, it doesn't go as far on. But it still works, and if you're using multi airbrushes, this is a great way to do it. The neat thing about that Neo Echo airbrush, which is $40 on Amazon, it comes with the 3 different nozzle sizes, and 3 different nozzle sizes, needles, of course, the quick connect system I showed you, this other one, which is just as good. It does not have the pressure adjustment. It's not a regulator. But you know, this is the Grex one. And you know, this goes in pretty easily. So that compressor, oh no, the compressor's got to be off. It just had a little bit more. But yeah, it's a great way. And if you ever get more crazy, you know, like if you're going to airbrush longer amount of time than 60 minutes, because that's what the max is on these UFU. It says 60 to 90. I have not, it goes a long way. I have not run into anything yet. And I think if you were to use like the beeswax on these things, you wouldn't even have to over tighten it necessarily. It would prevent the air from coming out and, you know, leaking. And that's only a really issue, I imagine, if you're, I mean, it's annoying, but if you had a limited air source, because, you know, they had canned air. I think when I started, I might have used canned air for 1 or 2 times, and then my parents bought me a compressor. Boy, this is annoying. I really thought I stripped it. I was like, what? But that's it. It just goes a couple times. Not even, maybe 1.5 turns. But anyway, enough of that. I'm not airbrushing right now. I should try to do varnishing. I mean, I did it once. Well, that's not true. I've done it a couple times, but I did it once recently with the AK Interactive varnish. And it was great as far as it didn't seem to have a problem going on or get messy. I think the airbrushes with the small compressor is just a generic Perry here. Yeah, the one that Joe King that I got is the UFU. UFU FU or no, YF UFU. That's silly. I bought it because, number one, it was clear that any airbrush that uses this connector would use it, and Ninjon did a video about this a year or so ago, and I don't think I saw it then, but I saw it probably 6 months ago, and I thought about it then, and I've been talking about it, and I decided to finally do it because I really want people to get into doing this, and if you can get into airbrushing for $55, that's pretty amazing. There are kits at Harbor Freight that Avanti is what they call their new one, and their airbrush is similar to this now. It's not like the other one that is similar to this one. So it's a gravity feed, not suction, and it's $109 with a compressor, a full-on compressor. I don't know how quiet it is, but it's probably pretty good. Quietness for airbrushing is one of the things people want nowadays, and so I think they're better than they used to be. I have a Iwata compressor that does not have a tank. You can add a tank to those types of things. I saw a compressor, I don't know what, I'm going down these rabbit holes on all this stuff, but they had a compressor that had a handle, a tubular handle, and the tank was the handle. It was $550. That's just too much. I mean, if you're doing that for a business or your crafts, you know, you like doing it all the time, then that makes sense. But to me, if you're just going to do it a little, start off with something small. Even the $109 one is great. And there's a what is that hobby? Micromark? Yeah, Micromark. They sell a compressor, little compressor thingy like this one, but they're charging like $107, maybe $99. For $10 more, you can get, you know, a real compressor. I don't know how great the Avanti is, but actually, our friend Keith bought one, and he hasn't used it a bunch, but he said it was pretty good, and he said the airbrush was pretty good too. I imagine it's very similar to this airbrush. I honestly feel there's not that many manufacturers in China. I can't imagine why there would be, but maybe. But they're all much better than they used to be. I feel this airbrush is even better than like the 200s that Badger used to sell, at least. I don't know if they still do. Inner tube, absolutely the truth. I used to use, which was not as easy, inner tubes is smarter. I used to use a CO2 tank. That was what I got when I was in college. It was ultra quiet because it made no compression noise. It's just the spray. And it lasts, when you fill the cylinder, it lasted a long time. But I got to tell you, I only did that like twice. Works tools, huh? Wow. I don't know that. I mean, that name sounds familiar, but that's interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of options. You don't have to get anything I'm recommending at all. I imagine most airbrushes nowadays, since they're cloning essentially these other airbrushes, will be perfectly fine. Oh, I did open up the Iwata, and I got to tell you, the Iwata is kind of a hybrid. Let's see here. I need to find the wrench. I think it's in the bottom. I tried to organize everything. I think I got it together. So they had a wrench with this one. It's a much bigger jaw. Darn it, it's at the back. Here we go. This is impressive. Now this is an expensive, not terribly expensive, $150. I think I bought this as a Hobby Lobby. Nikki won't let me go there anymore. But so when you take this apart, I thought, oh, this is like the others, where it has almost exactly the same nozzle as this one, and similar to the Badger one. But I knew this came off, and I had never taken it off. I've only ever used it like 3 times, and I've just done a complete rinse, and I wasn't using any crazy paint. I think it might have even been a watercolor. I've definitely not painted a mini with this, but this is impressive. So this comes off. It's using rubber gaskets, which I'm not a fan of, but check this out. It is like the others, like I believe the Posh, but definitely like some of those more advanced Badgers I have. The first one that was like that was the Crescendo, which I still think they sell. It's designed to be like a Posh airbrush. So that's why I think Posh probably has this type of nozzle. But needle will come through the front. Let's see if it actually has a ball on this. I don't remember. I'm going on and on about airbrushes. Ooh, Gambit. Fantastic. I'm glad that you're on at the same time. It's nice to be, you know, I like working during the day. I worked last night a little bit late on stuff out here. I was really trying to get everything organized. Wow, this is not threading back on. What am I doing wrong? But that is very disassemblable, and it allows you to really clean it and pull the needle through. So this has the opening in the back, so you could do this, and you just pull the needle through the front. Now, generally you go back the same way, but you can go this way as well. And it means if it's clean, there's going to get no paint inside the body. And it really isn't too much to worry about. It's not like, other than just maybe screwing up the mechanism so it's not as smooth, it's not that big of a deal to pull through the body, but I just can't clean it as easily. Like taking apart the spring mechanism here that controls the needle is just no fun in my opinion. There's no reason to, generally, unless you get paint in there. Let me pull that needle through. I didn't actually. Oop, nozzle. So I'm sure you can buy these parts, but I love that it's a hybrid essentially. It has the double conical needle or nozzle, and then this add-on one here. So probably it's cheap to just, you keep this and you just replace this part if you ever need to. But if you take good care of it, then you really should, like mine has lasted very long. Anyway, let's put this back together if I can. This is my second time opening this one. But I was very impressed. I'm like, okay, this would be a good one to recommend as well. I recommended a Renegade, I think, Badger that has that double conical element. Why is this double? Okay, so this is a separate cap, because this is very similar to the Chinese ones, so they're stealing that essentially. Or who knows? I mean, this is made in Japan, and I believe Anest, who's either owns or something with Iwata, they make stuff in China too. But yeah, this is an Iwata Eclipse HPCS. I like this airbrush. I've not used it nearly enough, but now knowing how that works, I'm even more likely to recommend it. It did not come with a nozzle protection cap or anything. I purchased 155 of these things to try to put it on some of the gear around the studio so I wouldn't. I hurt myself one time just before we were streaming, scraped myself real heavily on a piece of camera equipment. And so I was going to put these things on, and none of them fit. It's a huge variety of sizes, but it ultimately isn't really that huge, and that was a bummer. But I ended up putting a heat shrink tubing on that to protect myself on the one that was the most dangerous. But I have tons of them, so I can put them on screw ends and stuff like that. Okay, so let's get back to Nick Fury. I need to put that away. I only have one of these, but it's beefy. Let me see if I missed any chat stuff here. Shake that thing. Hey, Crypt Kid, it's Opal. Let's see here. I'm actually sitting down. Oh, X-Men. Blue and gold boxes. I have not opened those at all yet. I've only done the main X-Men box. I would like to do the rest. I am getting close though. I feel I have 60. I must have about, well, I looked at the other day. I had the blue ones. Where are they at? So I have these to paint still. These are it for the villains. And then I've got, this is all from the first Marvel United. X-Men, all I have is the first 10 painted out of the main box. I don't have everything as organized as I'd like. But yeah, this is what I have left. This is a lot. So I wonder if there's more than I'm, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 22, 23. That's a lot. So basically 30. Does that mean I've only painted 50 something? Must be. Of the first series. I have also gone to cleaning my wet palette every time because gosh, I got airbrushes out. I just don't want to be digging in there anymore today or right now. I don't know if the tables can entirely level, but these wet contrast paints, I will put them on the wet palette. You can't use them forever, but it's moved all this way. So this table must not be level, and it's just enough that these have oozed over to the left here. And it went into the water. I just cleaned everything up the other day when I did that, but I had done the blue here, maybe this blue, and the pink, and it was everywhere in the water too, which is a bummer. So now, and I said I clean it every time, but I did not clean it last night. I think dinner was ready, and Nikki called me in. But generally, I've been cleaning the palette every time now. So I'm using the membranes. These are just essentially pieces of paper that do a pretty good job. You can wash them and reuse them. I like it. I like that. I mean, I'm Mr. Worried about the environment, and I probably worry too much. But I've been using only 2 or 3 of these sheets so far out of 2 packs of 10. So I still haven't. I can't even buy them. That's another reason why I'm not trying to burn through them. Hey, Don. Hey, the airbrushes are great. But I try not to burn through them just because I can't even buy them. I don't even think they have them on their website. And they sell some of their stuff on Amazon, but only the other sheets, which are fine, but I would probably just use the baking parchment, which is pretty great. So first let's varnish, and then we'll work on Nick. He's going to be pretty easy. Almost everything's black. I'm probably going to do different shades, like intensities. This will be leather. I don't know. It's a coat. I guess it's leather. I'll do the coat maybe in black, darker black. Anyway, think about that in a minute. So this this paintbrush is the first one I've used out of these Royal and Langnickel inexpensive paintbrushes, and it's just starting to get tired. So I mean, for $25 was the last batch I bought. For 144 brushes, I'll show you the one. This is the first one I bought. This was $45, and then I found it on eBay and got another one. They're pretty good. They're very inexpensive. These were 37 cents a brush, and the other one was like 22 or 23 cents a brush after shipping and everything and tax. To me, that's the way to go. Like, don't spend a ton of money on it and just get a new brush more quickly instead of like struggling to keep it as clean, as good as you can get it, because they wear out. I mean, this one is very similar hook-wise. So yeah, it's about ready to end it, which is fine. I'm going to put on varnish, so varnish doesn't matter. So I'll use one of these other ones anyway. But it comes with 6 sizes. They're pretty good. The only thing it doesn't have, which I wish it did, is double-aught. I like double-aughts as well. I'm basically a 3 or a 4 and a double-aught guy. So I'm cold. It's not that cold here, but it's chilly. It's DC pleather. Yeah, either one of them, right? Pleather. We're going to go finally see Ant-Man today. I heard it wasn't that wonderful, but I still want to see it. I like the other movies, and I really like Paul Rudd. So wow, there's a bunch of chats here. Okay, does airbrushing require a shield around? It does. It depends on where you're doing it. I have my mom is the best. She buys me everything I want with crafts. For Christmas, probably 4 years ago, she got me a master spray booth. You can make your own. You just put a fan on a backside and a filter and a box, and it just, you want a negative airflow to pull through the filter. And if you put a tube on the end of the fan and then put another filter, you'd probably be fine. You don't want a lot of suspended paint. You definitely don't want to breathe it. If you wear a mask, then you can do more. I generally don't airbrush inside much, but I did do this and this the other day. I did use the master spray booth for this one because I was doing a lot more blue and I was more intense. This was much lighter. I used the little tiny compressor and I was just doing the tiniest amount. I'm sitting here with cameras, so I protected the lenses, but I mean, I did the tiniest amount of paint. It took me a little bit of time. I didn't even have a mask because I couldn't even smell it at all. It was such a light amount. But you do need to worry about it. You don't want to get it on computers. Like I had the MacBook over here. It was closed, but you know, airbrushes can be messy. It's amazing what you can do now and the stuff that they're doing. There's actually, I said the Barbarous Rex, his channel, he reviews lots of stuff. He showed a couple new spray booths that have a water backflow. So against the back, in front of the filter, they have a waterfall that's constantly moving, and you can spray solvent-based paints and it will capture that, and you won't have the smell, which means you don't necessarily need to work with a mask. Hey David, thanks. We're in Los Angeles. I would not buy any of that stuff yet. If you're going to try to do the airbrushing, get like one of these things we're talking about that's not too expensive, the UFU one, which is $55 to $69, and just do it a little bit outside. I mean, freezing cold, it's a pain in the butt, but we have done, when I was in Germany, goodness, when was that? Must have been 4 years ago, 2019. We were spraying stuff outdoors, including rattle can, and it was fine. Your biggest issue is, I mean, I think we started with objects that were sitting outside, so it was cold, and you don't want to, you know, you don't want that stuff to fog or clump, but we were able to do a pretty good job. But I would try to do as much as you can, or in a bathroom maybe, someplace where you're not going to mess stuff up, and then migrate if you like what you're doing and spend a little bit of money. The problem is like this, even though this spray booth is nice, it's still pretty big. The cool one that Barbarous, gosh, I wish I remember his name. I really like he's an older guy, but he's great. And he covers a lot of equipment and explains things pretty well. His channel's been growing. He's where I saw that Neo Echo airbrush. I thought, hey, what the heck, $40, let me buy it and see what it's got. It has enough extra parts that it was probably just worth it just for the quick connect and stuff, because this was included. But anyway, he showed two, both from the same, at least distributor, but manufacturer maybe, that had the waterfall, but they also had fan adjustments, so you could really quiet it down quite a bit. And he was doing a test where he was showing a candle. He'd light a candle, then blow it out to show how effective the suction was on the fans. So it's pretty impressive. I don't know if I shook that enough. But I mean, some people will only spray varnish. So getting an airbrush to do stuff like that, and varnish is bad. Like, you really have to clean your airbrush when you do that. That's another reason why I haven't done it so much. But now I have so many airbrushes. Steve, or Ref Tom Green the other day asked me how many airbrushes I had, and I hadn't counted them. And I was a little disappointed in myself. I had 14 airbrushes. It's one of those things, you know, you're like, oh, well, what are they doing with that one? And I'm crazy. But I think that brushing on varnish is perfect and great. But I could imagine, well, you would put on a thinner layer, so you could probably do multiple coats and not be too thick. You know, maybe you might lose detail if you do too much of that. But you'll see this has kind of got milkiness here, but it'll all be smooth. Well, I say that confidently, but I've never had a problem yet. I've only ever had something fog up when I was using a spray can varnish, and it was probably something, a fault of mine that might have had moisture or something, because you know it was a solvent-based varnish. Testers make some great dull coat, if they still do, I don't know, which is one of the best. But I was doing something else. It wasn't a miniature thing. It was something else, like a project. And this was a long time ago, and I'm pretty sure it was dull coat. Not that long ago. Yeah, and watch videos, Wookie Mart. There's a lot of great videos out there. I have not done any airbrushing videos yet, but I've seen plenty of stuff and lots of tips. It really isn't that hard. I mean, if you're gonna just prime, it is not hard at all. And literally, I do not thin the Badger varnishes at all. They are airbrush ready. They're an airbrush company. Stynylrez is the paint. And as I said, you can use it and brush it too in paint, and I've done that several times, many times. You definitely use more paint when you brush it, and probably varnish too. But it's worth it. I really, really, really like it, and I feel that you can really crank through miniatures with this kind of system. With the, you know, this is a different style, but here go. I'll go with these one more time. I keep pulling out this Blood Angel guy that I've done 10 years ago or more. I feel these look comparable. You know, one of these took me a week. Now, other painters can do that in a day. I am not that person. But MODOK was about a day. No, I mean, a few hours. This was a week of evenings. But they look great. I think they both look great. Different kinds of styles. And this is fun. I love doing this stuff. But I'm, number one, trying to do less GW, gigantic army stuff, even though I have plenty of armies next to me here. But generally, I paint 5 or 6 units max, like I did this Warhammer Quest Lost Relic minis. These took me a little while. These are a hybrid of standard painting and using the contrast paints. I think the capes turned out amazing with just the contrast paints. All the black is contrast. The only thing that, actually all the other colors besides the gold and the white are standard contrast paints. And they look great, you know. These were much quicker, much quicker. I probably did all 5 of them in the time it took me to do this one. I might be exaggerating a bit, it might not have been that bad. But I did that in the evenings. I had my old job, came home from work, and would paint. I had a little setup on the coffee table and painted while we were, you know, while I was watching TV or whatever. I used to watch the New Yankee Workshop, which I really loved back in the day. So I would catch those in reruns on, I think, Home and Garden, HDTV. I would like to do more woodworking too. That's hilarious, but it's all the crafty things I like to do. But you can do a lot of great stuff, and you just get better. I mean, you should see Scott. He's painted minis over the years. He hadn't painted for a long time before we painted the remainder of the Space Hulk minis. We did all the Gene Stealers quickly, and they turned out really nice. And then he started doing this method, using a spray can, and they turned out really nice, and he was really moving. He's not as particular as I am. You know, I want them to look to the level I would appreciate anyway. I mean, I'd love to do everything like this, but I can't get through it. Having, you know, 200 of these minis and another 100 and something coming in a year. I mean, these have taken me a while to paint because we started these in 2021. And, you know, we took breaks. I finally decided to make this area into a permanent workstation to do more miniature painting. And I'm happy that I'm doing it. Bringing out my sleep paralysis demon again. Uh-oh. I mean, you know, it's fun, and I mean, you know, come on. You can't help it when people are excited to see the painted minis when you're playing with them. And there's just so many games. I have a good 100 or so in Starcadia Quest to paint as well. So I would like to finish those before I get to, you know, I'm not even wearing the paint glasses. I'm doing a pretty good job. I can see, like, I have no problem reading, but these get a little closer than I hold a book. And so I definitely need the readers. But I hope that people pick up the hobby, though. I think it's great. And I think it's silly to have unpainted minis on a game when it's not that hard to actually paint them. I know people that buy like fully painted armies and stuff like that, which is cool if you can afford it and are, you know, you just want them to look like they're supposed to look like. But if you want to put your own spin on stuff, it's great to learn how to do it. I have mentioned that we met Trey Parker, and he showed us, like, he had the Big Trouble in Little China minis that were painted for him, and they were great. And he was going to be, he had purchased, I don't know what he got for an airbrush, but he got one of these master spray booths. So he was going to try to do it himself. I don't know. I mean, I've talked to Trey. I haven't actually seen him in a long time, but we've written back and forth emails, and I don't know if he actually picked up trying to paint during the pandemic like everybody else did. I wish I really had gotten into it. I mean, it's having fun, but we ended up being much more busy than we thought we would be. In the beginning of the pandemic, we didn't have enough to do, but eventually all I was doing was working. It's crazy. And I'm still very busy still. Now, one of the things we've started doing is those videos that we do for BGG. We do the in focus and the how to plays, and I don't film those, but I do all of the, you know, marketing essentially, or whatever, getting people and doing all the discussions with the publishers, and all that stuff takes more time than you think, and we're not even doing that many videos. I have done some full Omniscare. I have never done a full Space Marine army. I do have a pretty large army of Black Templar, yeah, Black Templar, and some Chaos stuff. I only recently actually bought some Chaos stuff. Did I buy a base army of that? I can't remember. I'm hoping I didn't, if I can't remember. But anyway, I painted Dark Eldar, or Drukhari, gotta remember these new names, for Nikki, and that was a lot of units. And I think I got pretty good doing stuff on that army. My Eldar, or Eldari as they are called now, is not as complete of an army. I got really into doing the Dark Eldar, and make sure I got enough on here. And then I painted a huge bunch of Necron when that army came out. Was around the time I got into the GW stuff. I had gone away when my grandfather was ill and came back after a couple weeks, and my friends had gotten into GW stuff again. They had done it when they were younger, and I was, you know, playing board games, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm not going to get into that. And then, of course, I just looked at the stuff, and even then, this is almost 3 years ago now, 23 years ago, I was impressed. I really liked the miniatures, and I was particularly impressed with the Eldar. So my friend Alf, who is a fantastic painter and pretty darn quick, I was trying to ply his brain for how to do this. This is before YouTube, and so he was helping me, but like I did not do much wet blending or anything like that at the point, and I'm still only okay at that. But he was phenomenal. But he sold me his Eldar. He was, you know, one of those guys that he's like, oh, I'm into this one now. So he started doing Dark Angels, and they were great. They really looked great, like ridiculously good. And so I inherited, you know, I paid for him, but I also, he was very generous. It's ridiculous. We always called it an Alf fire sale. But yeah, he gave me a very good deal, and I had a bunch of stuff. And then I did do some Tau. That was another new army back then. And I like those too, but I never did any really thing with it. And the latest one I want to do is those Votan. I'm like, really like to get meaty sausage fingers. I mean, they're chibis, they're super deformed, right? This is Kang the Conqueror. So Marvel United, and I'm just putting varnish. Varnish is a clear coat, and this is a matte varnish. It does look shiny going on. It gets pretty matte, but it's not as matte as I think I prefer. But I don't know if the problem is that the thinner varnish that not thinner, the ultra matte, which is very matte. It's thinner, and that could be a problem. I mean, you know, these are going to get handled, so I may just, I mean, you can see this is getting pretty matte here. Yeah, I'm just talking about that now, Chris. I prefer matte. I'm sorry, I'm between two chats here. And I really like the AK Interactive. I have heard, I don't own all of them, I don't have any Vallejo varnish. I have a lot of their paints and stuff, but I've heard that all the Spanish ones are pretty amazing. This Vallejo, this AK Interactive is pretty awesome. Then MiG Ammo has supposedly a great varnish, and they're also Spanish. There's a lot of paint stuff. I wonder if there's like just a big community of painters in Spain. The Angel, he's got some great stuff. He has subtitles on all his videos, so it's pretty cool because I like watching his stuff. He's a different kind of painter than I am. Let's see. Should I go ahead and do this one? Might as well. Doesn't look quite like I'd hoped. I don't have enough varnish, but I generally do 2 coats. If you're going to handle them, you generally need to do 2 coats. I use a gloss varnish, then tone it down with a matte. Now, you're going the opposite direction of me. I generally do the matte and then put gloss, any kind of gloss. Gloss is the most durable varnish. It is the thickest, and you maybe don't need to do 2 coats of that. I don't use a specific varnish brush. My current painting, custom Space Marine, nice, and Tau Army. Color scheme, it works for me. That's my problem too, Gare. So here's my Eldar that I decided. I literally painted this 23 years ago. You know, I just made it up. It's not fantastic. It's a little too dark. It definitely needs highlights. This is prior to me getting to that point in painting minis. But it's cool. The jewel, that's probably one of my first jewels. It looks pretty good. I mean, there's tons of jewels. If you're going to go crazy with this stuff, you're going to have a ton of jewels. I mean, look at all the jewels on here. Or gems. But, you know, you have to, number one, you can strip your minis. There's no reason to worry about it. You can always just strip it and start over. And work with one, and maybe just work with like one of the cheapest minis you got. But don't let it hold you back. That's why I really enjoy painting the Marvel United stuff, because I want it to look like the characters do. So, I just follow what Big Child Creatives did for the campaigns when they did these. And I'm painting. Look, I'm not worrying about it. I just get going. And hopefully, I will burn through a bunch, get better. And then if I get to the type of things where I want to be specific about, you know, like be creative and whatever with like an army or a, you know, war band or whatever. And that's the other thing, you know, get a kill team or a Warhammer Underworlds war band. Those are, you know, $35, and they'll have 5 or 6 minis or something like that, maybe. And you can get it done, and you can get the experience and make some decisions. You can begin an army with something like that. That's one reason why I don't know they pitch that stuff more. Because to me, it's much more attainable, right, to work on a small group of figures and to learn, you know, to develop what color scheme you want to do is cool. Now, here's the other thing. Don't worry about it. You can duplicate other people's color schemes and just have fun. Oh, Stuart Stemple, I have his stuff. I have the black. I've not tried their top coat. It's a super matte top coat. I've been using it for years with no problem. Interesting. I didn't even know he's been around for years. I bought his ultra black, and here it is. I have too many bottles of it. Black 3.0. I think I backed it on Kickstarter. And I've been tempted to buy a lot of his stuff, but if his varnish is cool, that's awesome. I mean, the hype about what's going on, because the blue that, you know, is, I can't remember who that's branded it is, and a pink, and the black was some guy copyrighted he didn't even create it, the ultimate matte black, and I think he's like, well, you can't control that, should be able to copyright it. So he has done his own versions of that. I'm sorry, I'm not in focus here. Nice. And their fluorescents look pretty great too. I've used the black. I've used the black for certain things, and it's pretty neat. But like, I have extra bottles of it because Scott bought like a whole bunch, and he doesn't need it all, so he gave them to me, and I'm like, oh, I'll probably use them, but I haven't used them that much. I've really kind of been on the contrast paint kick, and I'm trying to make room to actually get the remaining ones I don't have, and then I've got a full-on kit that I bought from Mischief Maker on Etsy to do the Vallejo or the Army Painter one. Army Painter's got a new batch of colors coming out, plus it's going to have a reformulation to, I guess, stop the reactivation that supposedly happens. I mean, I've had people that have actually used it and said they haven't had any problems. I don't know. It could be just different work techniques for people. I don't want reactivation. I have dealt with reactivation with certain things. But anyway, so yeah, I'm kind of all in on these contrast paints, speed paints. You notice I did a little bit of yellow, like a little glow from the thrusters. It was okay. I just thought, well, I might as well try it. I mean, I was spraying the tiniest amount of paint. Oh, they're going to include metallics. I'm intrigued. Stripping some at this very moment because I goofed. Soaked them in 99. Isopropyl is good, but it could break down the plastics a bit. Especially if there's any resins in there. I use, I mean, I don't know that it's available anywhere but in the United States, but LA is totally awesome to strip. I just leave it overnight. The problem is you must clean very well. Clean it up when you're done, because it will it'll dissolve the paint that you're putting on it. So you have to be cautious. But anyway, if it'll get you started, you know, if you've got minis that are unpainted, I mean, I've heard for years people are like, just get started so you don't have them unpainted. You know, the pre-painted stuff, I was looking at this Dice Throne minis, and not the Marvel. They don't have Marvel. Although I probably could use what we have. They look pretty good, you know, and they're only $10 more than the unpainted minis, I think, if you go from the Roxley website, which, wow, you know, that's cheap. And, you know, it could be satisfying and everybody be happy, be color, you know, look nice. But it's fun to paint them. And I think these speed paints are a quick way to get going. Learn how to do stuff, learn some techniques. It is different. It is not the same paint style as traditional acrylics. But that's not a bad thing. I just love it. It's really fun. I look forward to painting. I wish I had more time. My friend Sebastian, he basically well, he's been super busy lately. His job has gotten crazy, but he'd come home every day. And he got home before his wife and would paint for a bit. And he's just basically, I don't know how often he did that for sure, but he's been painting since he was like 12, and it shows. He's really good. He doesn't let it bother him. He will refer to color, you know, like a predetermined color pattern, or just go crazy. He's like, when he was doing stuff with Nikki and I, he's like, what's your favorite color? And so then he would paint I didn't paint that gun. He would paint the car that color. He did this. Did I just break something off? No, it's Nikki with her axe. But you know, he did this Gaslands car in yeah, I'm in LA, big boss man. You know, he did these super quick. He is just a fast painter, and I strive to get there. I don't think I'll ever be that quick, but you know, and he uses everything. Like he has painted vehicles with the contrast paints. He just works for what work quickly for him and get the stuff on the table. That's what he loves to do. I am jealous. They have in their basement, they have a full-on gaming area with craft tables and like almost like picnic bench style tables with very long benches on each side. We had the best time in August, September when we went there. Some of his gaming group people came over, and we all were just downstairs working, and it was phenomenal. I really, really wish we could do something like that. We just don't have the space. But it's great. And he said it was great because we kind of prompted his group to get back together, and they're now, you know, they're still pandemic concerns. They are the only other people. There's very few people now that I know that haven't gotten COVID. We have still not gotten it. and they hadn't either. You know, I don't want to get sick, but I never want to get sick. But I also don't want my mom getting sick, and she is particularly concerned about it. She has some health issues that she worries would be aggravated if she got sick. So, and you know, my mom's by herself. I don't want her to not see me. It was bad enough at the beginning of the pandemic because I had been traveling a bunch at the beginning of the year. I had already had 4 trips, 2 conventions. One of them was our BGG retreat, but it was still 30 people. You know, it was our first group meeting in our new offices, which is awesome. And this car is focusing on that. I also don't think this is the greatest backdrop to have because it'll focus on that, but if I put my miniature right in the middle there, it'll do okay. My parents still have still been clear. Oh, good. Yeah, David told me he had gotten it. It was bad. It just, you know, everybody's worried. I don't blame them. Like, you don't want to get any of the long-term things. I know plenty of people that have gotten it, it hasn't affected them, you know, which is great. But my aunt, who was one of the earliest, if not the earliest person I know that had gotten it, her husband, my uncle, had gone out, was still, he's a musician, but he wasn't playing. He was doing live audio. And he got it and gave it to her, and she was very unhappy. But she is still dealing, so 2022, so 2 years later, with she can't taste everything, she can't smell everything. It really affected her. I mean, they had an early, you know, variant of it. I don't know why I'm painting this yet, it's not ready. Crap. But yeah, so she's still struggling with it. She's the youngest in her family, so she's only probably 6 or 7 years older than me. And she's struggling with it, doesn't like it. She was in town visiting my mom. My mom was the oldest in their family. And was very happy. We went to a restaurant where I guess I chose well. She could taste everything that we had, and she was happy. But yeah, I don't want that. I mean, maybe it'd be good. Maybe I wouldn't need as much. But yeah, I have friends that are having problems with memory, all kinds of things. And so I don't really know what everything that is happening with that, but I don't want that. And so I'm hoping I can wait as long as possible till it's just, you know, a nasty cold. And it seems to be getting there. I mean, what do we know? That's good. David's saying he didn't have any long-term effects. That's mostly what I'm hearing now. Scott got it on the BGG cruise last summer. I was completely stunned I didn't get it. I thought for sure I was going to get it. Thankfully it didn't happen because my mom was freaking out. I was calling my mom every night from the ship and came out and said, hey, well, Scott's got it. And she was freaking out. Like, you know, she is very kind and will come pick us up take us to the airport. And she was freaking out, like wondering what she was going to do because she couldn't. Didn't want to get sick. She didn't want us giving her sick. And I'm like, well, we're wearing all the masks that we wear, and we more than double mask. We actually have like a mask that Nikki created. We read a bunch of stuff online. When we couldn't get masks, when we made these masks, we couldn't buy them. And so we have like a, what is it? N95 style filter that's inside the mask. And then we have the mask, and then we'd wear a surgical mask. I said, we'll be with all that stuff, and hopefully you won't get anything. We'll have the windows open. Um, boy, he's neat. I already got the beard too, the goatee. And just the skin. Now, part of this is it's injection like lines. It's not a great injection mold. And you could probably fix that stuff by putting on some filler, but as you can see, I'm not really cleaning the mold lines and stuff that I would normally spend the time doing. It's a little harder to do. It's much easier to clean up these miniatures than these. It's the type of plastic. Now, the new ones, the X-Men ones, have a different kind of formulation of plastic, a little bit harder. Might be better. I don't know. I've only painted a few of them, and I was in a rush because I thought we'd film with that, but it didn't happen. I am excited to say that it looks like we will have Arc Nova come out this week. Yeah, I think you're correct, Joe. It is the folks that got it earliest got it the worst. Yeah, I think we're going to be able to do Arc Nova. Another thing about varnishes is I was saying it's bad on your airbrush too. It's bad on your brushes too. So you should use, somebody was asking if I use a special brush. I just use specifically, I'm using a brush that I do not use to paint anymore. I don't feel it needs to be anything like stupendous, like maybe real sable or anything like that. I think the Golden Taklon, which is what all these are, is just fine. I've not had any problems. I mean, that's just from my experience. There could be some other issues that other folks have. Okay. Does his eye look pretty good? That dot is not great, but I'm just going to go with it. I think I need to order some double-aught brushes. I am running out of... I have these that I bought a long time ago. I mean, I don't even think this paint company is around anymore. But they had some nice brushes, but these are very fine. I dug up another one. I looked up all the double-aughts I have, which I think I have 3, maybe 4. I have one Series 7. Is that really a double-aught? I really love the Winsor Newton brushes, but these were like $17 the last time I bought them, and that's just too much. I won't say the line from used cars. That's an aught. So then this is a double aught. And these are just tiny. These are too tiny. I've kind of evolved beyond these brushes, I guess. Have I used this one yet? Huh. So there's a double aught Series 7. I mean, that doesn't even look that great. But it's very tiny. I don't know. I kind of like them a little bit longer bristles. But yeah, I've used Series 7 since high school, and they were obviously not that expensive, but they were expensive then too. Like, they cost me a good chunk of dough back then, and we were getting student discounts. I do have one larger one. Yeah, this is probably, it still feels like it's a 1 or something. It's a 2. Well, there you go. So 2, I don't think I've ever used this one. That other one I looked like I had. Nope, I've used this one. It's okay. Boy, I didn't do a good job cleaning that for having an expensive $17 brush. Go to Hobby Lobby. Yeah, they do have good sales. So the last time I was there, I bought this brush, and I really liked it. I would have bought more had I known I wasn't going back. It's fine. I'm with her. I don't like their attitude about artifacts. You know, they've got lots of basically looted artifacts. I mean, I don't really know. And she doesn't like the way that they treat women employees. But yeah, this is Master's Touch. This is a nice brush. I've used this a couple times. It's a 3. I'd buy more of these even at $5 or $6, whatever they were. But again, these inexpensive brushes are pretty great. You really don't have to go crazy. I really like them. The Royal Langnickel. I've used some of their brushes back in the day, and they now have these inexpensive ones made in China, and they're pretty solid. Let's clean this brush. Boy, I wish I'd done a better job on that. But I have not used these. I will tell you this, they have a great feel. They're heavy, really nice. Like if you can afford it and you don't care, they're probably the best brushes, some of the best brushes out there. But I beat them up. I'm painting, you know, I'm painting quite a bit of stuff. I'm not the fastest or the greatest painter, but I'd much rather go through $1 or 25-cent brush that does a good job, and not worry about it. A friend of Adam's, Sam Lenz, he's a great miniature painter, award-winning miniature painter, and he just uses like 5 packs of brushes. He's basically the guy that got me to just go ahead and go for it. I had some brushes that were relatively inexpensive prior to that video that he did. I was buying these from eBay, and eBay, and they're good. They're like $2, and they lasted me a long time. They have kind of the same feel. They're chunky, like the Winsor Newton. They're nice, but I was burning through these quickly too. I'm like, you know, I felt like they were going really quick. Like the earliest ones were lasting me longer than the newer ones. And I think I bought them all at the same time. So, yeah, I don't know. They're great. They're all good. I think going the cheap route is really the way to go, particularly with this type of stuff. We're poking them into recesses. You know, that's not what you do with a standard brush. You're painting a canvas or a, you know, board or whatever when you're doing an art, and that's what I use these types of brushes for, and that's why I was always using them. I still bought relatively inexpensive ones back in the day. I would go to Michael's back when they used to carry good stuff, and I'd also go to a hobby store called Continental here in the Valley that was amazing. They actually really had great stuff. I really miss being able to go and look at the brushes that I'm buying. You know, I just bought 144, and there'll be a few in there that I can't use because I mean, I can use them for other things, but I can't really paint minis. Detail. And, you know, you want to be able to see that and see how good they are. They, you know, they group the bristles together. When they're using sable, they do, like, the better brushes do amazing jobs of grouping the bristles together and making sure that they're good quality. But yeah, Hobby Lobby. We don't have, here's the other reality. The nearest one we have is 17 miles away, something like that. It's not close. Michael's and Joanne have closer ones. But I just don't, you know, they're fine. They just don't have anything. I mean, true physical media is dying. It's kind of a drag. You know, I think the skills to paint, now, I mean, why bother? You can do a pretty amazing job on the computer. It's unbelievable how it has changed. I still feel if I had a kid and they were going to go to do art, I still would want them to learn traditional painting and drawing. But man, the ability to change your work, like, hey, this, you know, if you're doing stuff for other people and everything being in layers and being able to, or saving in different states, just means you have so much more power to deliver what people want. Okay, black. I've never used the Black Legion. You want to see what that looks like? It does not have an agitator in it, so it means I haven't opened it. Yeah, Hobby Lobby has good sales. Nikki is sad. She loves their yarn. Did I say yawn? She loves their yarn. She's a huge fan of all the stuff. They have so much stuff, but she just does not like them. And you know, Nikki's a smart person, so I will do as she says in that regard. I don't know how. I have no idea what this black is like. I will probably thin it down a little bit as well. Do a couple coats. I did that on the capes for the Warhammer Quest guys and gals. I think one of these is a lady. It's pretty awesome. I think maybe she's a lady. No. Maybe, I don't know. What do I know? Yeah, I don't know what the difference between these blacks are. I like the Black Templar black. Well, it's kind of noisy. Well, I'm hearing it in the mix. I gotta figure out what the call is after we're done. So, it's Tuesday. So we're gonna be going to Ruel here in about a minute. No, I think it goes in 15 minutes. Ruel, and I said Ruel, but I mean Rado. It's Rado and Ruel. They're doing their R&R show. They were gonna stop, and they've decided to continue. One of the main sponsors has pulled back their sponsorship, so Rado was like, I think I'm kind of done. But I actually meant to set an alarm. I'm going to try to let people know. So that, I mean, it'll automatically switch. If you're watching us on the BGG front page, it'll automatically switch to Rado's show. But I'm going to probably go till about 1. So I'll go a little bit later today. But I might as well. I got another half hour. I'd like to get, I'd actually like to get something done on Nick Fury Jr. Because I wonder if you should do the lining a different color. You know, although it'd probably be just black lining, but it might be a different color. I'm always overthinking this stuff. Okay, so some of this paint on the, oh, first of all, let me put an agitator bead. Bloop. I just bought like 5 sets of, I don't even know, is it 25? I don't know how many are in here. Maybe it's 50. 5 sets of 50 from Monument Hobbies. And they're only like $2.50 for 50, I think. And they're great. They're glass, which glass is better than metal because it definitely won't oxidize. And you know, I have paints that go back years. I think they used white metal. I think I said Ralpartha, but I think it's Reaper. Here's a Reaper bottle. You can't hear it. There's definitely one in here. So this is an ink, but this is old. I've had this forever. I'd like to see. They were little skulls, white metal skulls. And those were awesome. As agitators, I would buy those if you could just buy them individually. And they don't seem to be oxidizing, so it's not like a... I've seen stainless steel, air quotes there, that has... I just closed that back up. Didn't get any paint out. That have oxidized, so, and ruined paint. I mean, you know, thankfully paints aren't too darn expensive. These Citadels are steep, but they go a long time. I mean, I'm not painting a full army of the same kind of stuff with the multiples of the same color, but in doing what I'm doing with these marble things, which has plenty of, you know, common colors that they use in a lot, because it's comics. They do look like little sausages, his fingers. I do love the super deformed chibi stuff. It's fun. And you know, these faces are giant, so it's something I don't do a lot of on GW stuff because they're so tiny. I mean, this is a Space Marine Terminator, and that's a big mask, so that's kind of fun. At least that's big. But then you get these little tiny faces, and this is not, you know, you don't see a humanoid form. But they do have some units that have it, and they're just so dinky. I wish I was better at that, because I've seen amazing. When you go to France, we went to FIJ. They just had one last week, I think it was. We'd been 3 or 4 times, I think we went. They, amazing painters, so good. And you know, you look at these little, I was all convinced. I got another bunch of miniatures I have to pay. I have the Batman, Reichbusters. Those are all French companies, and they had their painted minis, you know, and I'm like, oh, I want to do that. If only. Boy, I'm not doing very great here. It's a different black. It's pretty nice. May only need 1 coat. Might not have thinned it enough. We are going to go see the movie, but we are not going to the Chinese. It's not in 3D there. The sad thing is we're going to go to a theater here near us that does have it in 3D, and it's IMAX, but it's not the same. I'm pretty certain they only have a single projector, and if you go to see a 3D movie at the Chinese, it's 2 projectors, 2 laser IMAX projectors, and it's better. We went to go see Thor, Love and Thunder. That's what it's called. Last summer, and it was not as good. And it's the same price, essentially. I am thinking I should have turned on the heater because it is cold for us. Art Nova is great. It's a fun, I can see why people really like it. I don't know that I will play it again with 3. And we only did 3. We wanted to do 4, and Scott's like, don't. He said when he played it late 2021, early 2022, like, don't do it on game night, too long. You know, because we have to do the teach. We do a full teach. We're not just sitting down playing. And so it took a long time, and it's going to be 3 hours and 15 minutes long, totally edited. You know, it was a long filming, so we had questions, and, you know, we want to try to get it right. And I think if I were to play it, I'd play it with 2. I mean, I don't remember how long Terraforming Mars was when we filmed it. It was a while. And I don't know that I would play that one with 4 either, although it's faster. We have friends that are, you know, speed players, and that's not us. Huh, this is not great. Gonna need another coat. The problem is when you go with these darker ones, when you do a second coat, you know, they want you to do 1 coat with these paints, 1 thick coat. It's not 2 thin coats. And if you don't do it, you end up getting the kind of the worst of these paints. The coffee staining is what they call it. I find, well, what I could do is, after this, if it's got too much monkey mess, see, that's going to happen right there. Bummer. You don't want to touch it when it starts to set. Anyway, if I put a thinner coat on, I could probably cover up some of that stuff. I've been going, so, you know, I didn't show the other thing I painted this weekend. I did paint Bullseye. I'll show that in a minute. Sad I'm doing another miniature that's got black on it, because that's why I have a problem painting armies. I get tired of painting the same colors. I just did those 5 or 4 units for Warhammer Quest, Lost Relics, and I was getting tired of them. Now, I've painted a lot of those, well, for me a lot, of those blue and gold. What are they called? I can never remember. Stormcast Eternals. And I kind of feel, you know, it's good to paint a lot of that stuff at the same time when they're going to look similar. But man, I get tired of painting the same colors. And that's what's really fun about painting these. I mean, I will have a couple Sentinels that are going to look similar. And that's fine. That's just going to be 3. But generally, they're all different with these unique characters, which is fun. Woof. Painting inside here, bad. This music reminds me of Vegas. We haven't been in ages. I don't love Vegas, but I have fun. We've often went with Scott and Michelle, and it would be fun. I'm intrigued about the Army Painter medal. I'm gonna have to get that. That could cause me to repaint. But yeah, I was saying on Bullseye, I painted very thin coat of black, and it took quite a few coats to get to like the level of darkness I wanted. I wonder if this is Nick Fury running to get the pager to contact Captain Marvel before he gets snapped. Woof, this is hard. I already made a mess over here where I painted some flesh tone. It's gone. It's happening here too. It's funny, black and white are the 2 colors I don't love painting. For black, I feel, you know, it's too strong and I lose any kind of shading. That's why you don't really paint in black. You paint with grays. Boy, look at that. Reaching in there to do all that's going to be tough. You don't have to go crazy because it isn't even necessarily going to be visible, but I try to do a decent job on it because I will see it. My worst critic. Yeah, this is probably going to need another coat. I don't think I painted the blue with it just straight, but maybe I did. See, it's pooling here. Ugh. Ah, that doesn't help. Where was I seeing that I didn't paint? Right there. I'm gonna focus on that, although I've gotten some black on his pants and the holster. It's fine. I don't mind it being not super black, but I will probably put a much thinned down coat on top of it, one more coat. Although it is looking okay, it seems to be leveling out mostly. I really should be putting on a miniature holder, because I've already dropped it once. So here's Bullseye. He turned out pretty good. His skin looked pretty good. I think that was 3 coats or more of the thinned down Gilman flesh. This is not black. Often I will use Basilicanum Gray, one of my favorite colors actually, or favorite paints. He turned out pretty good. The bodysuit is okay. The MCU pleather or whatever it was. The helmet, the headpiece looks good. It's better than, I don't know if, maybe it kind of doesn't look great on camera, but it looks pretty good. And I don't mind it not being black. So anyway, he's almost done. And some brick rubble. Is it not focused? Anyway, oops. So let's put Nick Fury Jr. I did not know that until Nick Fury Sr. became a mini in the latest Marvel United. Not focusing. So I put a little bit of red in the tiny bit of red, kind of a brick red, into the skin tone. This is the Gilman flesh as well. I probably will do another coat. I don't want to get too dark because of the beard, right? It's that I wanted to go lighter slightly, so there would be some contrast between those two parts. Anyway, what time is it? I think I still have a little more time. It's cold. 12:47. Eric has a video like asking if you were limited to designer and countries that you get your games from. That's a new video. I don't know what he's doing. I got some underneath there, which I did fix. So I had the one here. Was it this one? Yeah. So this one I repaired. I had gotten some paint, probably some of the brown from maybe some of the Army Painter Quick Shade. Anyway, got on here, but I was able to touch it up. So is this the one? I gotta look. I think it is though. 1, 2, 3, 4. It has to be. Yeah. So, I mean, it was a big old splotch of brown right here. And I just matched the gray as best I could. And it turned out pretty good. And I just lightly dabbed it in some of the areas that were a little darker. And then painted the blue over it. Looks great. So I need to varnish that. Now, if I had varnished it and still got paint on it, it wouldn't be, still be a problem. Man, it is cold in here. I think it's gotten colder. Or maybe just because I'm sitting still so long. Black Legion. Just a little bit more. Boy, you can see paint gets right up into the ferrule. It's not good. That's what kills, one of the things that kills brushes. I don't get paint out of the cup with the bristles. I do it with the end of the brush. You can control it more and it's not getting in the bristles. Okay, more medium. So this is I'm a bottle and a half now, I think, of contrast medium. It really, the paints do last a long time. For whatever reason, for me anyway, they last longer than standard acrylics, and I'm not really sure why. Because, standard acrylics, you're thinning. Maybe because I don't have to apply take as much out of the bottle. I don't know. So that'll come out probably. I should try to clean it before we leave today and see. But it's not good. You don't want it to get that far up. This has some in it too. So it's definitely cold here because this is fogging up where I cleaned the brush and put the cap back on. Cold for us anyway. I really don't want to paint everything the same. What was the one I did? Oh, Black Panther. It turned out neat. It was too, not enough subtlety. And that's where painting a traditional style with the traditional acrylics, where that would be beneficial. You could do the shading and it can be gray and it would look, you can see here there's some contrast and shading going on with the undercoat. But these contrast paints, the darker ones particularly, are a little too intense. I don't have a picture of what he's wearing, so I'm going to stop at the boots. I'm sure it's all black. Must have looked at this last night because I remember seeing the leather, like it was brown leather, at least on brown leather on at least some of this stuff. So I think it's 12:45. Oh, we're already switched. So the BG page, if anybody's there, you are already gone. But I'm glad Rado and Ruel are going to continue. Rado's leaving town. He's going to take a vacation, like a road trip. But Ruel's going to try to continue. So I think they've got another couple shows. This one and one more. And then maybe it'll be Ruel exclusively for a little while. I don't know what color the holster was. I will probably make it brown just so it's not all black. I could just go with the white shirt, although he was wearing black. I didn't put any in the glove. Wow, look how much darker the other glove was. I do want to get one of the new GW miniature holders just to see. I tried one, as I had said before, when I was in Germany, and I thought it was pretty cool. When these were going away, I bought 5 more. I have so many miniature holders, and I use 2, so it's really not necessary. These flexible jaws, though, that they have on these are great. Something on that brush. It's getting tired. I will getting a new one when I start my next session. That is my new rule. I think you're going to do better with fresh brushes. There's no breaking them in my opinion. That's not too bad. I will still do another coat. That's a weird splotch there. It is part of what you do with these miniatures, with this paint. You figure out how to work with them because they are different, for sure different. Like you don't generally have the problems of splotchiness. You'll get some sort of splotchiness when you paint with traditional acrylics, but not like this. Generally, I think that comes down to like technique as far as how much you're applying, because you can certainly smooth out the surfaces with standard acrylic. But I don't think it's that bad, and I have repaired things in my opinion. Hey, it's almost 1. I really should stop soon. I actually had hoped to paint this weekend on a stream, but I just ended up being slightly busier than we thought. My mom was around, and on Sunday we went for a little bit of a drive to have some lunch. I have some pretty neat miniature holders from, man, I don't remember the name of them. They're German. We backed them on a Kickstarter, and they're very nice. I actually use this wooden dowel. I've had this dowel for 15 years. I mean, I'm a pretty clean painter, so I don't have a giant mess on it, but I just use that and some of the poster tack, and it works pretty great. But the ones I got from that Kickstarter, I can't remember, it started with an R, they're very nice, really nice. The problem is they're cork, and they have certain diameter inserts, and they don't fit this stuff, or I'd be using them. I actually kind of like the taper of the handles. Plus I also have, there's a new Kickstarter from these guys, I can't remember. Kit is the guy. He's changed the name. It was Hobby Holder or something. But this is a neat system that uses bottle caps to hold it on with poster tack. And then it's got the frame to hold it, you know, to steady stuff, which is great. I use these occasionally for larger minis. The only reason why I don't use them here is it just be getting in the way of seeing what I'm trying to do. But, and I have some, I think I have 2 or 3 from Red Grasses that they had, their holder has, again, used the tack and has a little pivot head that you can rotate it, which is really nice. But it's a little oddly shaped for me. Scott got the newer version that actually has a magnetic, I think it's a metal base that inside of it that'll, you can have it hold it up, it's magnetic, or it's ferrous, so it's magnetic. But here's the Red Grass one. This is the first one. It's cool, but it's a little tiny for my hands. I don't even have big hands, but it's cool. It doesn't have the weight that the other one does, the newer one. Scott has, I think, a couple of those. And I can't remember if I used it or not. I don't think I found, gosh, he looks better already. I don't think I found the poster tack. Yep. That's cool. He looks neat. I do like woodworking. That was another middle school thing, junior high thing that I got into. And I have a good amount of stuff, woodworking tools. Not as much as Jeff. Jeff, him and his wife run the BGG Con stuff for, you know, they manage that for us. They've been doing that for a long time. He's got a great shop. There was actually there's a YouTube woodworking show that they featured his wood shop. It's funny, like if I lived near those guys, I would definitely be painting with Jeff, because he paints now, and he got a really cool setup from a German, probably, manufacturer at Spiel in 2019. And it was just, it only holds like Army Painter. He like bought everything. I don't know if he bought the contrast paints, but he got all the other stuff. And it was great. Looks really good. I just like painting with others. So Nick, I met with Nick Murphy yesterday, and we're talking about on Thursday evenings, co-streaming, once he gets his setup together. He's trying to figure out the best way to do it from home, not from their studio, which would be fun. I like painting with others, and I like being inspired and getting ideas. It is nice. YouTube has lots of great creators that are doing really good stuff. So you don't, you can get inspiration from that. It's just, you know, I've painted on Discord with Sebastian's group. They're in Cologne. Actually, they're in Bonn. It was fun. I had a good time. I just don't have a good setup for that. Like, I don't have a computer right here. Although I could feasibly do it since I'm connected into the computer in our control room. I could do it from here. We are going to have Aaron on Thursday evening. We're not going to be playing Puerto Rico yet. That's been delayed. There was a problem with the rule book. It's weird because Rodney did a how to play video already for it. I don't know what happened, and people are disappointed with it. So we still want to do it. We really enjoyed that game back in the day. I think I still have it rated as a 10. That's when I was rating games. I don't really rate anymore just because, you know, I'm part of GameNight, stuff like that. I don't like to do that. And I'm also a kind reviewer for the most part. I like a lot of stuff. Anyway, there's Nick Fury, a junior. Let's go in a little bit on him. Let's see what we can raid. I'm probably going to just go over to Ruel and Rado. Wow, okay, yeah, they're on the front page. I don't know how many people are still with me. If you want to join in on the raid, please do. We'll be here Thursday. We're going to play, with Aaron, we're going to play one of the unlocks, one of the board game themed ones, probably Mysterium. So I'm hoping that all works out. Say hello to everybody. Actually, it looks like Rado's not there. So maybe Rado's gone already. Anyway, say hello to Ruel for me, and I don't know the other guy's name. I've seen him though. And have a great week, and hopefully you can see us on Thursday. We'll be on at 5:30 Pacific Standard Time, and hopefully we'll have fun. It'll be great. We have not had a guest on Game Night for a while, so take care, everybody. Well, I say that now. I'm gonna have to still click to do it. Hey, you got 3, 7, 10, 14. Well, thanks for being with me today. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.